So let's say that you're a bad guy in the Marvel Universe. That is a premise that I've talked about a couple of times in other videos on this channel before. And you want to do something villainous, but standing in your way are the X-Men. Well, it's time to pack it in. You can't win this one. GG, well played. Oh, what's that? I'm sorry, did you expect me to break it down and tell you how to beat them? Because this is the X-Men that we're talking about. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but they don't really lose fights. I mean, sure, it has happened. When you've been kicking names and taking butts since the 60s, you're bound to get handed an L eventually. But their win ratio is heavily skewed in the positive direction. But why? What about this team allows them to have such an insane win rate? Well, that's what this video is all about. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. Now, okay, there have admittedly been quite a few times where the X-Men have arguably lost. And there will be a lot more in the future, I'm sure. However, on the whole, the X-Men more than often come out on top, especially against smaller threats. And yeah, sure, you could probably just chalk that up to the fact that they are more often than not the protagonists of the story, and most stories tend to show heroes being triumphant over their foes, but there is a pretty solid reason for why this is the case that goes beyond any kind of Deus Ex Machina sort of situation. And it all comes down to telepaths. Being able to get inside someone's mind can do a lot of things for the X-Men. The first and most obvious use is the one that we have seen Charles Xavier do on several occasions within the Fox X-Men films. That being the ability to just freeze people, effectively stopping the fight often before it even begins. And this is a super powerful toolkit in their arsenal. However, this isn't really something that can be used all the time, as it is really a high-level ability. Your everyday run-of-the-mill telepath wouldn't really be able to do this super effectively. It takes an extra powerful mutant like Xavier to be able to achieve the desired results. But the team does have several of the most powerful telepaths in all of comics, with Jean Grey and Emma Frost also coming in at power levels theoretically more than capable of doing this same thing. Though we don't really see them doing it as much, it's more of a Professor X thing. The second most obvious use, which is something that the team has used a ton as well, is the idea that the telepaths could read the minds of their enemies, allowing them to know what is coming before their foes are able to even make a move. Of course, something like this might seem like it's only really useful for just the particular telepath, as being able to actually communicate this information to other people might be too slow and make it sort of irrelevant by the time it gets to other people, as the person's already made their move and done their action. Or is it? This is where the real strength of the team comes in. Something that most people might not think about is the benefit of having a telepath on the field that can use their powers to enable communication between members at the speed of thought. This is something that we see them using literally all the time, even when we as readers don't actually know it, as this communication usually just comes in the form of dialogue boxes. But what's actually happening there is they aren't actually saying the words out loud a lot of the times, they're just thinking a thought that is then read by somebody else nearby, allowing them to communicate instantly. This has been shown to allow the team to take on opponents that they really have no business going toe-to-toe with. Like at the beginning of Avengers vs. X-Men, when the Avengers came at them with pretty much every single member of their roster, including some heroes who don't normally get called up for big missions. At this time, the X-Men were in a sort of weakened state compared to some other periods in their history, with quite a few key members either gone, or in the case of Beast and Wolverine, on the Avengers side of the conflict. And yet they more than held their own for quite a while. You could even argue that they kinda won in the end, but things came to an abrupt halt when Hope Summers dipped, so it's sorta hard to tell. So if you ever find yourself facing off with the X-Men, your first course of action should probably be to find a way to inhibit their telepaths' use of their abilities. You'll still have to deal with the entire rest of the team's power sets, but you know, no one ever said that being a bad guy in the Marvel Universe was gonna be easy. I feel like I've said that line somewhere before. Hey there everybody, I'm John Aljets. I made this video, and I wanna know what you think. How would you go about taking on the X-Men and dealing with their telepaths? Be sure to let me know down in the comments below, or go ahead and shoot me a response over on Twitter. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to CBR for more great videos just like this in the future.